following slides will continue our study in animal care and handling. So please get a piece of paper and something to write with as we look at animal care and handling, part 2. Residue levels. Residue levels are amounts of a drug, antibiotic, or hormone left behind in a product after withdrawal period has passed. These levels are monitored by the USDA, the FSIS, the FDA, and the Environmental Protection Agency. Residue levels related to antibiotics and other drugs can be reduced below vital levels by veterinarians abiding by rules set by the FDA. Water is another essential element that animals must have. It's essential to all parts or all aspects of life processes. Livestock must be provided with water in every aspect of their life cycle. From the point that they're born until the point that they're harvested, they must have water. Water also helps in being able to remove the hide easier and being able to eviscerate the animals easier. Eviscerate or evisceration is the process of removing the internal organs from an animal at the time of harvest. Feed and feedstuffs. Water is important, but also is feed. Feed provides all the essential and non-essential nutrients that an animal needs. They provide the source of energy for animals to perform life processes, to grow, to develop. So they're very important for animals to have access to feed. Feed is withheld from animals 12 hours before slaughter to aid in evisceration and to reduce the likelihood of microbial contamination from visceral punctures. In other words, to reduce the amount of contamination from feces through this evisceration process. Illness in livestock. Illness should be addressed immediately. It should not be waited for or prolonged. If an animal is ill, it may prevent them from being harvested or cause the carcass of an animal that is harvested to be condemned or to be thrown away. Illnesses can be treated with antibiotics. It is vital that you read the label of any drug given to animals, as it may delay the time of harvest due to mandatory withdrawal periods. A lot of drugs that are given to animals that are sick have a 21-day withdrawal period. In other words, after they receive that medicine, they cannot be harvested for 21 days to get rid of that level of drug within their bodies. Illness should result in ill animals being separated from other healthy animals. So they should not be with them. Due to the regulations concerning BSE, non-ambulatory, or that means they cannot walk, downer cattle cannot be harvested for human or animal consumption. This is monitored by veterinarians who are employed by producers, processors, and by the government in the Food Safety Inspection Service. So once an animal is provided with the things it needs to grow, it comes to the point where we look at how they're handled. Handling an animal may influence the red meat yield due to bruising and the meat quality. If an animal is bruised, that bruise has to be trimmed out, and that means that amount of meat is wasted in the animal. Also, the stress towards the end of life, towards the time of harvest, can cause an animal's meat quality to be reduced. Handling process should aim to prevent injury and stress to the animal. This would include some practices of not shipping horned cattle in confined spaces to prevent bruising. So not having a whole lot of, for example, longhorns inside of a small trailer so they don't get bruised. Properly using sorting sticks to prevent bruising and lesions. Designing working facilities to minimize stress and energy. So to make it easier on the animal as they go through that process. Avoiding short-term stress in swine immediately prior to slaughter to prevent meat quality issues. Preventing long-term stress in all livestock to prevent degradation of meat quality. So an animal that's stressed for its entire life will have a lower meat quality than one that's not stressed. Weather also plays a role in the handling and care of animals. Weather can increase the incidence of illness in animals due to rapid change. If it's really hot and goes to cold, that can cause an issue and cause illness. And if it also goes from dry to being wet, that causes a problem. This should be monitored during high stress situations in animals' lives. So at the time of calving, at the time of farrowing, at the time of lambing, at those different times in life, when the animals are weaned and when the animals are shipped, are all times that it must be monitored to make sure that the stress is reduced for those animals during that time in their life. Weather also can affect the rate of gain. In exceptionally hot weather, animals will consume less feed, and in turn they'll reduce the amount of gain or how much weight that they gain. In exceptionally cold weather, animals will consume more feed, but they'll use that feed to, the energy to maintain body temperature and not to add weight. Weather's out of producers' control. They have no control over that, but its effects can be mediated or lessened through proper handling and monitoring of weather conditions and procedures. Let's review some concepts from Animal Care and Handling Part 2. Number 1. What are residue levels? Number 2. List 2 government agencies responsible for monitoring residue levels. Number 3. True or false? It is acceptable to remove water from an animal 72 hours prior to harvest. Number 4. Why should feed be withheld from animals 24 hours prior to harvest? Number 5. Should ill animals be allowed to commingle with healthy animals? Why or why not? Number 6. How should horned animals be shipped? Number 7. How can exceptionally cold weather affect the weight gain of an animal? This has been Animal Care and Handling Part 2. I hope the concepts covered in these slides, along with Part 1, gives you a better understanding of how animals should be handled from the time of birth until their final harvest time in a slaughter facility. Thank you for your time.